Good evening, everyone. My name is Johannet Candelarios, known as JC. This is our final project. Tonight, we're talking about our favorite unit of this book. My favorite unit of this book is the Unit 3, which its title is Could You Do Me a Favor? Everybody needs favors, right? And making requests. So it's very important to know how to make it correctly and how to accept or regret it. In this unit, I have learned about favors, conversations about borrowing, making requests with modals, with if clauses and gerunds. In addition to that, I have learned about write informal emails request, about indirect requests with statement, imperative, yes or no questions, and WH questions. Let's see a short summary of this unit. A well-known proverb is, a friend in need is a friend indeed. That means a friend who helps you when you need is a true friend. Favor. What is a favor? A favor is something you do to help someone else. There are favors that people dislike being asked, like, could you buy me a coffee? Or could you treat me to a movie? Or could you lend me some money? An important difference is between to lend and to borrow. To lend is to give. To borrow is to take. Making requests. Let's talk about making requests. Asking for things, asking for favors. There are different types of requests, small, medium, and big requests, that we can classify from less formal to more formal requests. We will see them in that order. Can or could you do me a favor? That is modal plus base form verb. There are requests with if clauses and the present tense. For example, do you mind if I borrow your phone for a minute? There are requests with if clauses and the past tense. Another example, would you mind if I started first? There are requests with gerunds. Let's see an example. Would you mind lending me $5 for a coffee? As you can see, we use mind plus gerund. And the more formal requests are my favorite. I was wondering if you could help me with that. As you can see, this is not a question. Okay, let's talk about indirect request. We use indirect request when we want someone to give a message to someone else. There are statements. For example, a math teacher Juan is calling you. The indirect request introduced by that is, can you tell Amalfi that teacher Juan is calling her? The imperative, Patricia, don't be late. The indirect request using infinitives is, can or could you tell or ask Patricia not to be late? Yes or no questions. Midalia, do you receive my video? The indirect request introduced by if or whether is, can you ask Midalia if she's received my video? Or could you ask her whether or not she received my video? Let's see with WH questions. Jonathan, when is the final project? The indirect request introduced by a question word is, can you ask Jonathan when the final project is? There is a good phrase that I can reduce this topic. There is no person who doesn't not need a favor. You just have to know how to ask it. And finally, pros and cons of this topic. Pros, very useful, simple grammar, easy vocabulary. Cons, too long.
Good evening. My name is Migdalia Cairo. I am teacher Juan Tavera's student, and tonight I'm going to be talking about my favorite unit from the last book. My favorite unit was number 11, which was Life's Little Lesson. I like it because I learned the meaning of some time clauses that I didn't know, and also I learned how to express regrets. This unit was about important life events or little lessons. In this one, we saw the topic time clauses that are used to demonstrate a period of time based on an action or an event. Some important facts about time clauses. A time clause can't be by itself, must be connected to a main clause, and the time clause can come before or after the main clause. Also, we saw expressing regrets and describing hypothetical situations. We use should have plus past participle to express regret, to speculate about, or imagining a situation that did or didn't happen. For example, I should have studied for the test. We use would have or could have plus past participle to express probably results about a situation. And also we use if plus subject plus had plus past participle to describe an hypothetical situation in the past. For example, if I had studied for the test, I would have had a better grade. If I were a teacher, I will explain this unit like these are important things that you need to know in your daily life. Some pros about the topic are that we need a lot the time clauses in life, and explaining it makes me understand better. And also that it's good to know how to express regrets, because sometimes we do things that we are not proud about. And some cons are that they are a lot of time clauses, and sometimes it's difficult to remember all of them, and sometimes I confuse the use of should have and would have to express what I want to say. And that's it. Thank you for listening.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ileana Santos. I'm going to talk about my favorite unit. My favorite unit was the unit number 4. What history? Because I learned grammar to describe past events. In the snapshot, I saw different types of history. For example, war, business, technology, and others. The first grammar focus was past continuous versus simple past. Use the past continuous for describe an action that was interrupted by another action. For example, use the past continuous for ongoing action in the past. Use the simple past for an event that interrupts that action. It's very important to know the difference between past continuous and the simple past. The past continuous are formed by using was and were. The past tense the verb to be plus ing in the verb. To make the simple past for the regular verbs, we use the verb form of the verb and add ed. And the regular verbs are verbs we do not follow the normal rule for conjugation. The second grammar was the past perfect. In this grammar, we use the past perfect for an event that occurred before another event. The past perfect is had plus past participle. When we are talking about should events in the past, we use the perfect to express the past perfect to express the early one. If I were a teacher, before the start of the class, I would a little review talking about the grammar focus and the importance of this grammar. This unit is very important, but we need practice. That's it. Thank you, people. Have a good night.
Good evening, students. My name is Jonathan Delvaux, and today we're going to talk about my favorite unit, which was unit number 1, and the name of the unit was That's What Friends Are For. I picked this unit because I think it was really easy to understand and the grammar wasn't difficult, so I hope you will do the same. In the first part of the grammar, we talk about relative nouns. We use relative nouns to connect a clause with a relative clause. We use a relative clause to give extra information. A relative noun, the relative noun that we use were who and that. We use who to refer to people, and we use that to refer to people and things. An example with both of them will be I like people who are proactive, and the other one, I like people that are confident about themselves. As you can see, I use both of these nouns to refer to people, even though I can use that to refer to things. We can use these relative nouns as subject or object in a clause. The second part of the grammar was it clauses plus adverbial clauses with when. An example of this would be I like it when the teacher called me by my name. As you can see, there is two clauses. I like it in the other part when the teacher called me by my name. So it clause will be what is it that I like, and the when clause will be why is it that I like it. I mean, in a simple way of speaking. So I don't think that I have any cons about this unit because, like I said, it wasn't difficult to understand. And the pro will be that we learn new ways to talk without having to repeat ourselves. That will be it. I mean, if I need to use one sentence to engage with my students, I will use I like students that make questions, because in that way I can see that they are interested in learning new things. That will be it. I don't think that The grammar is difficult, but if you have any doubt, you can text me or write me. And that's it. Have a good night, everyone.
Hello, my name is Valeska Reyes, and I will talk about Unit 2 Career Moves. I chose the Unit 2 because the grammar is about comparisons, and I think that comparing is useful to know the difference between two elements. From the topic, I've learned that we can make comparisons with adjectives, verbs, nouns, and with the past participle. The comparative form is used to compare two people, ideas, or things. We have to know the following rules. So, when we have a word with 3 syllables or more, we have to put more in front. For example, expensive, more expensive. With 2 syllables and ending in Y, we replace the Y by IER. For example, happy, happier. With 1 syllable ending in 1 vowel and 1 consonant, double the consonant and add er. For example, big, bigger. And other 1 syllable adjective, add er. For example, tall, taller. Some adjectives are irregular and change form when you make comparisons. For example, good, better, bad, worse, little, less. And when you compare two things, use than. For example, she's younger than me. When you want to say something is similar, use as. For example, she's as tall as her brother. When you want to say one thing is less than another, you can either use less than or not as. For example, this program is less interesting than I thought. Or this program is not as interesting as I thought. For comparisons with adjective, the adjective goes in the middle. For example, Maria is more beautiful than Karen. Comparisons with nouns, the noun is placed in the middle as well. For example, my sister has better English than me. With past participle, also are placed in the middle. For example, he is better paid than her. And with verbs, it is a little different. The verb is located before the word combination. For example, my sister cleans more than him. So, if I were a teacher, I would explain the different rules about comparisons and give examples. Pros of the topic. With comparisons, we can know the difference between two things. And the cons of the topic, you must know the rules of comparisons to avoid making mistakes.
Good evening. My name is Santa Garcia. I study English by immersion at Encom in Santiago City. My teacher is Juan Taveras. And tonight, I want to share with you about my favorite unit. My favorite unit was the number 8, Lifelong Learning, because it had easy grammar and its main topic was very interesting for me. In it, I learned about the 10 most popular college majors, such as business, education, communications, biology, engineering, computer science, etc. In this versatile uni, we can see the use of would rather and would prefer. Would rather and would prefer mean the same thing. Both are used with choices. The difference is that would rather takes the base form of the verb and would prefer usually takes an infinitive. For example, I'd rather learn English, or I prefer to learn English. In the negative, I'd rather not study English, or I prefer not to study English. I is the contraction of I would. Also, we can see clear examples about the use of by plus gerund to describe how to do things. Remember that the gerund is formed by adding ing to the end of the verb. By plus gerunds is used to say how something can happen, to describe how something was done, and to describe how something could be done. For example, you can improve your English by doing a lot of reading. I learned a lot of idioms by watching TV. If I was a teacher, I would explain this unit by saying, "Hey guys, tonight we are going to learn how to mark our preferences and teach others how to do things." Among the pros of the units, I can highlight that they choose very wisely each of the topics to be discussed. For example, the reading title "Learning Styles" helped me a lot. In the course, I can say that I found some words with difficult pronunciation. Thank you very much for your attention. Have a good night.
Good evening, my name is Silvia Peralta and I'm going to talk about Unit 15. I really liked Unit 15 because it's easy to understand and I learned new vocabulary. If I were a teacher, I will describe it as very useful because we are always helping someone with recommendations or giving recommendations. As I said before, I only see its pros because it's easy to understand and useful on a day-to-day basis. I'm going to do a quick summary of Unit 15 that is called There Should Be a Law. In this unit, the grammar is about making recommendations using passive modals and tag questions for options. For giving recommendations and options, we are going to use the modals ought to, should, have got to, have to, and must. To remember, a passive modal is a modal plus be plus past participle. We use them when we think something is a good idea and when we think something is absolutely necessary. When we think something is a good idea, we use should and ought to, and when we think something is absolutely necessary, we use must, have to, and have got to, like in these examples. Cyclists should be required to wear a helmet. That is a good idea. And the other example, laws must be passed to control the noise from car alarms. That is absolutely necessary. As I said before, the other grammar in this unit is tag question for options. We use that question when we expect someone to agree with us or when we are asking for confirmation. When a statement is in affirmative, the tag question is going to be in negative and vice versa, like in these examples. Health insurance is really expensive, isn't it? The isn't it is the tag question and it is in negative because the statement is in affirmative. Childcare isn't cheap, is it? The is it is the tag question and it's right in positive because the statement is negative. When we use be in the sentence, in the statement, we are going to use be in the tag question too. The same when we use a modal. But when we use a simple past, when we use simple past and past verbs, we are going to use the auxiliary verb in the tag question. Hope you guys understood, and it was a pleasure.
Hello, my name is Amalfi. I think a good name for my favorite unit will be how to give good advice to people and not by trying. Let's see why. One of the most important things when learning a new language is the ability to communicate effectively with other people. In that sense, being able to react properly to some people's pet peeves, which sometimes can be really annoying, even if they are family or friends of us, can be valuable in order to keep things going, and not as a polite person. Unit 13 was my favorite unit because learning how to use the past modals verbs of degrees of certainty and for judgments and suggestions, we can express our opinion about a specific situation. Explaining or telling to others about the possibilities of their actions or reactions can help us to handle better a normal conversation, being more specific when we talk about correct actions and manners. I have learned to use past modals verbs for degrees of certainty. For example, when something is almost certain, possible, or not possible. It means an action in the past that the person can or must choose instead of the real situation in which the person ended. It's common to jump into conclusions talking about possibilities. For example, when a person who got late to an appointment, we can say something like, "She mustn't have arrived late at the meeting." And people at the meeting was asking for the reasons. For example, her car could have broken down. While the first past modals refers to giving options on hypothetical past events that can be real or not, the second kind of modals are used when we want to show a strong opinion about a past situation. The past modals for judgments and suggestions, like its name said, express or emphasize the use of should and could in positive and in negative forms to show our reaction as an advice and even as a warning. As an example, he shouldn't have forgotten their wedding anniversary again. His wife is really angry with him. A common use of these past models is to express an advice or warning. She could have been more polite at their job. Customers are complaining about her all the time. Finally, talking about people actions can be complex because we can get into some complicated situations like bad reactions, bad mood, and so on, but it's good to know how to handle uncomfortable situations. At the end, we can only try to suggest or to guess which is the best attitude, but the truth is every person is responsible for its own acts. Thank you so much.
My name is Yumaira Hernandez, and my favorite unit is number 5, the crossing court. This unit is my favorite because it explains the interaction with other court. In the unit crossing culture, I have learned to describe the expectation that the people have when traveling or living in another city or country. I learned some of vocabulary that we need for communication. Also, I learned to use the noun phrases when relative clause. When people travel or live in another country, they have different experiences and difficulties.
Some of them are because they don't know about the culture of the country, and others are because they miss their family, friends, and think that they left in their country. For expressing the difficulty or experiences, we use noun phrases or in relative clause. Example, the noun phrases or relative clause. One thing that I definitely be excited about is speaking a new language. The first part is the subject, and the second is the object. In these sentences, one thing is a noun, that is the relative pronoun and can be dominated. I finally is the relative clause, and speak a new language is the gerund phrases. This part is a main idea. The noun phrases can go before or after the verb be. For example, speaking a new language is one thing that finally be decided. In this sentence, the object is the first part and the subject is a second part. When we describe exportation, we must use when or if in the sentences. Some words we use for exportation are supposed to, expected to, expected to, and custom to. For example, if you visit Japan, it's not customary to shake hands. This sentence is composed for if plus the verb be plus adjective plus infinitive verb. Another example is in Japan it's common to eat on the floor. For explaining this unit, I use these sentences. One thing that people would to know is everything about the country to visit to avoid misunderstanding. The topic in the unit are not complicated. The grammar, noun phrases, and relative clause are very easy, but the grammar exportation can be confused with other grammar. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Meliani. I'm going to talk about my favorite unit. This is Unit 11, Life Little Lessons. It was my favorite unit because talk about important events in our life, and I learned to use a variety time of course. This grammar was about subordinate conjunctions that can be used to connect an action on the event to a point in time. The quotes are the first one. Once and as soon as. When one event happens, another event happens soon afterward. 2. The moment. To particular point in the time, two events happen together. 3. Into. That time is then no longer. 4. By the time. One event complete because another event. And we can use should have plus past participle and in clause in the past perfect to describe regret. If I were a teacher, I would start by asking my students to tell me about important events in their life to get them involved in the grammar and the pros and cons. The topic are many of these time conjunctions can be followed by ing or it form instead of subject plus verb. And we don't use will after conjunctions referring to future time. Thank you so much. See you later.
I'm going to talk about my favorite unit. My favorite unit is number 10 because it spends my knowledge of how to express myself and use grammar in both past and future tense. In the past, the use of verb tense, talking about the action complete at a specific moment in the past and other that may continue to happen in the present. There is also the future, how to make predictions with will. In the first part, I learned to use preposition about relative to time in the past. And the other part, in the second part, I learned that the will can be used to prediction and event situation in the future. And future continuum and future perfect.
We use the preposition in and during. We look during that is talking about what is the referring to time and in the context to periods of time. So often use during or in to talk over a period of time. The next part is about sin and for. We can use the two in different ways. We use as to talk about the starting point. For example, 1941 is when they started. So we can use for that, or we can think the duration is 17 years. So we use for the duration of time. The next part is about a goal. Talk about the amount of time in the past something happened, where you could say 16 years ago or 200 years ago or even a week ago to talk about how long in the past something happened. Then, and finally, the preposition from and to. From starting action and event and to ending point in the past. Then, and talk about next grammar is about the future and use the will. Number future, we often use will to do prediction of negatively. I want, and we use the base form January area. The next part is about future continuous. It's from the action that is going to happen. It is going to happen well. When it's starting, but if we look at the moment in the action, we are really bit in process. We usually talk about specific action like that. And finally, the future perfect is about like action that will happen before another action in the future.
I say the sentences about unit. The past or the future to import them to refer to time in the past and make prediction in the future. The positive things about this is that we want to use the preposition that refer to a time in the past. Both these usual are the same tick in negative thing. There are several words at an age one have a different use. You have to understand and now at that time it is spoken so as not to make mistake and not to confuse it. Also, this will be very important depending on the action, the grammar or the verb, and the tense of the verb change. Everything will depend on what type of action is going to be carried out in the future and if it is something that is premeditated.
Good night, my name is Casey Santana, and today I will talk about my favorite unit from the last book. My favorite unit was the unit 15, Church Should Be Allowed, because it deals with the things that we consider important and necessary for our community to be in order. It also deals with the common problems of society. In this unit, I learned about how to give opinions and recommendations for social problems and the application of new laws. This unit shows the pattern for giving recommendations, which is with should and ought to, for things that we believe are a good idea, and must and have to for things that we believe are absolutely necessary. There is also the pattern for tax questions. We use tax questions when we expect someone to agree with us or we want to confirm information. When a sentence is affirmative, the tag question is negative and vice versa. I think that if I were a teacher, I would tell my students that this is a very easy unit to learn, and after finishing, I will ask, was it easy? Wasn't it? One of the pros of laws is that they try to bring order to society, and one of the cons is that some people don't respect them. Is all for today. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Wilberto Manuel Fernandez. I'm going to talk about the Unit 4. This unit has for title, What is Story? I like this unit because it talks about the simple past, the past continuous, and the past perfect. I learned in this unit how to use the simple past, the past continuous, and the past perfect. I learned in this unit the two basic tenses in the past are the simple past and past continuous. Let's see more of these units. This unit has at the beginning talking about the news. For example, talk about popular online news categories, top stories, war, politics, business, science, technology, health, odd news, entertainment, sport, art, travel, opinion. And let's see now the grammar. Let's see the past continuous versus simple past. We use the past continuous for an ongoing action in the past, and we use the simple past for an event that interrupts that action. For example, past continuous. While he was escaping from the bank, and let's see now the simple past, the robber got caught in the revolving door. We see the simple past interrupts that action in the past continuous. Let's see another example. As Jake was running toward the ball, he tripped and kicked it into the wrong goal. Let's see another example. The planets were performing a song when the lights went out. We see the action the planets were performing a song was interrupted by this when the light went out. And let's see now the past perfect. We use the past perfect for an event that occurred before another event in the past. Let's see. A past event. I was working out and I had put my stuff in my locker. Another example. When I came back, we see here the simple past. And let's see the past perfect event. I repeat. When I came back, past, someone had stolen my wallet. Another example. They were able to steal it because I had forgotten to lock the locker. And that's it. Thank you so much. Thank you for my teacher Juan, for Francisca. I learned so much during this program. Thank you so much. Good night. God bless you.